Hey, welcome to Master Agent Mindset. And right now I have a wonderful guest that needs no introduction. I'm going to give you over to her right now.
Hey guys, it's Jillian Batchelor. I'm super excited to be on the podcast. For those of you who don't know me, I am a real estate business owner, real estate entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur when it comes to anything real estate. I'm part of a title company, a mortgage company, a construction company. I've flipped hundreds of homes. I've sold over 4,000 homes in my real estate career. I've done short sales, REO, luxury, foreclosures, first-time home buyers, downsize, investors, really commercial. If you name it, I have done it because I want a piece of all of it.
Wow. Now there's some experience. 4,000 homes. Not a lot of people can say that, right? That's amazing. Well, tell us a little bit about, I heard through the grapevine that there was a commercial deal that was pretty good. So would you tell us a little bit about that?
So, yes, we did an amazing commercial deal with my business partners here, actually out of Berkshire Hathaway, with Bruce Stoker, who's known as like the land shark. He's the land guy in real estate. Josh Campa and Chris McGarry are great business partners of mine when it comes to commercial. I wanted to learn commercial. I wanted to get with amazing mentors. These guys have been in the business longer than I've been alive, which is amazing. And so we actually just did a commercial land deal that closed. One of the biggest land deals that just closed recently in Las Vegas, $24 million, but I got to tell you the story behind it. We sold it to these guys 2 years ago for just under $10 million. It was 20 acres in the valley. They were going to use it for their personal use, decided to resell it because the market went up. In 2 years with really no improvements, we put it on the market for $17 million. We had offers all the way up to $36 million. And because the market was adjusting and changing, as it does, especially in commercial, we wound up closing it 2 years later for $24 million with knowing the right people. It's really important to know the right people on these big commercial deals. Cash deal, so you got to find somebody who wants to spend $24 million in cash on vacant dirt, right? Because then they still have to improve it. And now we're going to be working on a $100 million deal going forward in the future. So I'll tell you that. You never know where your buyer is going to come from. It's from somebody I knew.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You knew someone in your neighborhood from what I hear,
yeah,
right?
In my neighborhood.
And you guys got a deal together for $24 million.
Yep.
And now because of that or indirectly, you're getting another one together maybe in a couple of years for $100 million?
Well, yeah, and keep in mind that they started out. Now, keep in mind, they started out, we already spent $10 million. So they were a $10 million client, now a $24 million client. Now, who knows what the future holds? And because of that, we're spinning off and getting other clientele. So, yeah, this is all from somebody that was in my neighborhood. Had no idea that he was related to a billionaire with a B.
Oh, God.
Not M. And so, yeah, so it wound up being really well. And here's a funny story behind that. I will tell you this. He had the actual client had a grandson in commercial real estate in Las Vegas and used me, not the grandson, not the blood relative, right?
Wow. Are you serious?
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty impressive. Now, they've done some real estate with him before in the past, too. But I was impressed with the fact that I was able to win the client over, and he was able to do business with me. And as a woman, and I don't want this to come off sexist, you guys, but as a woman, there's not a lot of big women in commercial real estate. And funny to even say, even in residential real estate, the funny fact is nationwide, about 70% of realtors are female. But did you know that in the top 1% of realtors, there are very few females? So there's more female realtors as a whole, but in the top 1% of the high net worth earners, it's a very, 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 very small number. Most of the top 1% of realtors are men. So not to make this a sexist thing, but you have to work a little harder as a woman in this business, residential and especially commercial. So to go into that, are you okay if I actually go into my story and kind of how I got started? Okay, I would love to do that because I want people to know that you can really establish your life however you want it. You can establish, there's no boundaries. And I think as women, and again, I love men, but as women, we're placed under a lot of pressure. I have 3 kids. I've given birth to all of my 3 kids in this business. They know what their mom does, but I wanted to show them that there was no glass ceiling. And I think as women, I don't know if society puts it on us or we put it on ourselves or it's the pressure. You have to be a great mom. You have to be a great wife. You have to be in great shape. You have to look great. You want to do all these things. You have to run your household, still make dinner, still have time for the kids. But can you be the breadwinner? And so I always wanted to be the breadwinner. I wanted to just be in control of my destiny. It's actually not about money. I'll tell you, Pedro, it's not about money. It's about the ability to have freedom that money gives you. And let me expand on that a little. So I have 3 kids, I think, as I told you, and 1 daughter's in college. I have the ability to send my daughter to whatever college across the nation she wanted to go to. I have the ability, I have a daughter who's going to graduate high school early this year, and she's going to go off to college early. I have the ability to send her anywhere she goes. It's about, and I don't have the stress of, can I afford it? Can I not? Because of decisions I made. Now, let me tell you, I will tell you that I started their college funds when they were babies. I mean, I'm talking when they were infants. I was putting $200 a month away per kid, per college fund. And my wealth advisor, and I mean, we're talking pennies. I mean, everybody I feel like can put away $200 a month. We're not talking big, big money. My wealth advisor told me every year, just increase it by at least 20%. So if you're putting in $200 a month, the next year go $240. The next year increase it 20%, increase it 20%, and then increase it as they get older. So it got to the point where as my income was going up, I was increasing it. So this is just one example. But I also made a lot of sound investments that helped me to place me into those positions. So if I go back a little bit and tell you guys, I grew up in Las Vegas. I moved here when I was 6, moved here with a single mom. It was myself, my sister, my mom. My mom never made more than $10 an hour. We didn't have health insurance until I was 12. My sister was 15. We shopped at secondhand stores, and I'm talking thrift stores. They would actually say, like Maryland Parkway's thrift store, where you get a shirt for $1.90. We never got new clothes. If we went to Ross, it was like a big deal, like where you got new clothes, and even that's considered a discount store, right? But you don't know what you don't know when you're growing up. But what I did know is I did see my mom struggle. My mom was transparent with us. My mom used to actually buy food stamps from people who would sell them. She would give them cash. Let's say someone had $100 worth of food stamps, and they would sell it to her for $80 because they wanted the cash. And she would do it so she would capitalize on her money so we can get more groceries, because we had very limited funds. So she was leveraging the money that she had to give us a better life, right? But I saw her struggle. I remember when she would tell us, we were on free lunch or reduced lunch in the school district. I remember when we didn't have money for field trips or little things. And so I knew that there was a better life that I wanted. And my mom worked hard. This is nothing against her. She just, we didn't have child support. My dad wasn't around. Like I said, didn't have medical insurance. And my mom told me this story. I remember when I was 12, I got braces. And she said, I had to decide to take medical insurance or a raise. She worked in the medical industry, and her doctor said, I'll give you medical insurance or I'll give you a raise. Which would you want? And she knew I needed braces. So she said, I'll take medical insurance. And so that was a big deal to me. And I remember seeing that struggle, and I remember how grateful I was that she gave me braces, because let me tell you, I had jacked up teeth, people. And now they're pretty. So very, very important. But I knew that I wanted better than that for my kids. So I got into, funny story, when I was in high school, I wanted a car. My mom didn't have the money to buy a car, right? So I started working at a tanning salon. This is how it brought me to real estate. The owners of a title company, they still work in town now. They owned a tanning salon, and they owned a title company, used to come into the tanning salon, and they said, would you want to be the receptionist at our title company? And at this point, I'm like 17, about to graduate high school. I didn't even know what a title company was, okay? I was 17. So my mom was already a realtor at that time, but I'll be honest, she was a very mediocre realtor. My mom was one of those realtors that sold 5 or 6 homes a year. She was never like a top producer, nothing crazy. And she just had a baby. She had just had my little sister. So that was the life she chose. It was great. So I get into this title company, and I become the receptionist. But I knew, because I had good work ethic, I was there early every day. We opened at 8. I got there at 7:30. I'd bring in cookies off of my own dollar to put out on the, in the lobby. I was very personable. So within 2 weeks, what happened? They promoted me to be an assistant in an escrow unit. Now, I didn't even know what escrow was. Guys, remember, I'm still 17 here, okay? I quickly learned what escrow was. And because of my work ethic, they kept promoting me. Within 2 years of working at a title company, I was an assistant escrow officer, running my own desk, doing refis, signing clients, funding deals, doing funding, figuring everything. Then I knew I had a passion for real estate. Now, at this time, I'm 20 years old. I'm working at First American Title, and I'm making $50,000 a year, which for a 20-year-old is a ton of money, you guys. I felt like I was rich. I had a 401k. I had health insurance. I could have had stock options if you bought in. I mean, this was a big national company. It was a great company to work for. I had paid time off. My mom tells me, you should become a realtor. But she says, but Jillian, the average realtor makes $18,000 a year. Now, you guys don't laugh. This was like 2002. The average realtor today makes $7,000. Okay, but back then they made 18. And I thought she was crazy. I thought, why would I leave my $50,000 a year guaranteed job to make $18,000 a year? But something happened. In November, the year I was 20 years old, I had a heart attack. I didn't realize I had a heart condition. I had a heart attack and I almost died. And I thought, I need better for my life. I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to take the risk. So all of November, I'm in the hospital. I start going to real estate school in December. I get out of real estate school. I get my license February 28th. So I start selling real estate at March 1st. Those next 9 months, I made $197,000 in 9 months.
Wow.
Now, let me remind you guys, this is 2002. The average price of a home in Las Vegas was $157,000. Typical commissions at that time were somewhere around 2.5%, and there were no 100% companies. So I was on a 60-40 split. So if you calculate the math, you guys will realize I sold 65 homes in 9 months. With no social media, Facebook wasn't a thing back then. There was no smartphones. We still faxed offers, you guys, and they were carbon copy. They were the white, yellow, and pink page. There was no DocuSign. It was nothing like it is today. Video wasn't a thing. Like, I had a Nokia phone, and before that I had a flip phone. So it wasn't like that. So people will say, well, how did you sell 65 homes 20 years old? None of my friends were buying homes at 20 years old. No social media, no video content. I didn't even know what I was doing. My first offer I wrote was in an Arby's in Mesquite for $80,000 on a condo. Okay, nothing flashy or fabulous. I'll tell you how I sold 65 homes. I knew, because I worked at a title company, I knew work ethic. So I was the first one in the office every day. I was back at Century 21 Money World back in the days. They're not around anymore. I was in the office every day by 8 a.m. And I'd stay there till 8 p.m. I didn't have kids. I was like, well, no problem. So I would go in and do 12-hour days. And on weekends, every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday, I did an open house religiously for the first 52 weeks I was in real estate, right? And then I would follow up with my leads. I would door knock. I was just hitting the pavement. There was no special sauce. There was no secret. No one gave me a deal. And I'll tell you actually how that, so that was the first offer I wrote, was a condo in the Arby's in Mesquite for $80,000, okay? I'd never even been to Mesquite before that. It's like a 30-minute drive. The first buyer, or beyond that I actually got, was a call that came into the office. We used to call it floor time. People would call the office. Somebody wanted to buy a $50,000 condo. Now, even back then, $50,000 condos were in the hood. Nobody wanted to deal with it. Again, keep in mind, let's say you're getting a 2.5% commission, right? So you're getting, what, $600 and change, and then you're splitting that 60-40 with your broker. So maybe you're making $300. Nobody wanted to do that, right? So I said, I'll take it, and people were looking at me like, this girl's crazy. I talked to the buyer. Of course, there's nothing really available for $50,000 unless it's super bad neighborhood, super rough. And I talked the buyer. The buyer says, well, I can't really find anything I want. What if we sell the condo that I have? They had a condo worth $99,000. And I thought, oh my gosh, my first listing. So remember, my first buyer was in Mesquite. My first or second buyer that I thought was going to be a buyer turned into a seller, became my first seller. From a lead that nobody wanted, I wound up listing that for $99,000, wound up getting the buyer, so I double-ended it. So now I made 6% of my $99,000, right? And then that buyer who bought that condo wound up spending $10 million with me over the next 3 years.
Wow.
So you never know where your deal is going to come from. So I really, if there's any agents out there or just entrepreneurs in general, I want you to know, don't ever snub your nose at something like, oh, I'm too good for a $50,000 condo in the hood, right? Because that's what I was going to be showing. Rough neighborhoods, guys. And I was a 20-year-old girl, probably 95 pounds soaking wet. So if someone wanted to like kidnap me and sex traffic me, that's it. I was gone, right? But I had the wherewithal to be like, I had the gumption. I wanted to do it, the work. I'm like, I'll take whatever deal. I'll take whatever crap deal you throw at me because I needed the experience. I wanted to make it happen. And if I wouldn't have started getting that next client who then became an investor, and I'm learning investor deals. So I want to show that, like, I was a girl that had no real estate knowledge. I mean, I had owned my first home and all of that at that point, but no real estate knowledge, no leg up. No husband who was feeding me business, no mom who was feeding me business, no database. I mean, all my friends were 20 years old, either off in college or working these, their first jobs. And I had to just make it. And people used to ask me, how old are you? And I would lie, Pedro. I would lie. And I would tell them I was in my late 20s when I was like 21, because I wanted them to think that they had a more experienced realtor. Or what I would do is I would have them on the phone and I would try to like talk to them first and show them my experience verbally before they met me face to face, because they would always say, oh, you look so young. And then that just catapulted into my work ethic. So after those first 9 months, I started a team. And the next year I had the 17th largest team in the country based on production in the Century 21 system. So at that time, Century 21 was one of the largest companies. It was like the Keller Williams today, one of the largest companies in the world. And I had the 17th largest team my second year in real estate based on production. And this is Vegas, you guys. This isn't New York where our price points are $50 million. This isn't LA. This isn't Miami. This isn't Seattle. I mean, these were lower. I mean, back then luxury was like, oh my gosh, you sold an $800,000 home was a luxury buyer. I mean, nobody really sold $1 million homes, especially not a girl 2 years in real estate. I mean, that just wasn't a thing. And so I remember in Vegas, and now maybe every city has this, but in Vegas, we have this thing called the top 250 list. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that's the top 250 realtors in the city. And they base them based on production. And I remember this list came out when I first found out what it was. I was like, I'm going to be on that list. And people laughed at me. People were like, you don't even know what you're doing. You're new in real estate. You're this young twit. Who knows, you know? And I thought, you know what? People may have more experience than me. They definitely are going to have more marketing dollars than me. But no one's going to outwork me because that's all I had was my time and my work ethic, right? That's what you couldn't take from me. So I was like, I'm going to be up there early. And I was one of those agents that every day always came in dressed and ready to go. Hair done, makeup done, ready to go, signs in my car, cold water bottles in my car. Like I was ready to work even if I had nothing to do. Because what I knew was every morning you wake up unemployed. And it's your job to become employable. And so I still harp on that with agents today. When I have agents that come in their gym clothes, men or women, or I have agents who come in with their kids or they have come in with their dogs, I say, are you ready to be employed? If somebody calls you right now, wants to go look at a $2 million home, are you dressed and ready to go in? Are you what you would expect if you were going to go make the largest real estate investment of your life? And you never know. You might be walking into that coffee shop and seeing somebody who is going to become a huge real estate investor. Some of my clients that are the richest, if you just looked at them, they look maybe the poorest. They're not wearing Gucci and Fendi and Prada, this and that and that and that, but they're billionaires or they're millionaires. One of my billionaire clients is a rancher. You look at this guy, he looks like a cowboy. You have no idea this guy has a B behind his name. So you never know who you're going to run into. So I said, you got to be employable. Your car's got to be clean. Your car can't look like a homeless person lives in it, right? Your car's got to be clean because that's one of your offices. You got to be ready to go. You got to be in the right mindset. Every day you got to wake up like I'm worth $1 million. Because if you want to make the money that some of these realtors make, you got to be in the mindset. So I looked at that top 250 list and I was like, I'm going to be on this list. And I looked at what the bottom person sold, what the top person sold. And there was a huge difference, you guys. I'm talking the bottom person can sell maybe 20 homes and the top person's like at 600. It's a major difference. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to work my way up. And every quarter I kept working my way up on that list, working that way up on the list. And I'm proud to say now, generally I rank as like the top woman in real estate when you take out anybody who works with like hedge funds or major banks. If you're looking at just, I don't work for a builder because there are some builders on there and things like that. But if you actually look at people who sell John and Jane Doe houses and are just selling individual and have to hustle and have a team and do all that, don't have like one hedge fund or one REO account, for the last 10 years, I've been able to be ranked at least in the top 10 realtors, but pretty much always as the top woman realtor, which is something I'm very proud of because now I'm 20 years in, but it took 20 years to get there. So it's a lot of work. It's no overnight success. It wasn't just posting videos on TikTok, posting videos on Instagram. It's not just taking pretty pictures in houses. And that's the other thing. Sorry, am I going too long? Is that okay? Okay, because that's the other thing I want to tell people. I want to tell people, like, you get into real estate, especially now with reality TV and Instagram and all this stuff, and we make it look easy. Look, I do too. I make it look easy. I'm part of the problem. What you don't see is there's times that clients are cussing us out. What you don't see is I was on my hands and knees in a dress and 6-inch heels, scrubbing a water stain off somebody's floor the other day because another agent walked in or a seller walked in or buyer and spilt water on their floor, and I'm scrubbing on my hands and knees with a scrub brush trying to clean the floors. What you don't see is when your client leaves a bunch of trash in the house and you're going there and it's 120 degrees today, there's no air conditioning on, you're sweating, you're in your business clothes and you're trashing out all this trash of a property. What you don't see is like the things that we have to do to make it work. You don't see the marketing behind the scenes. You don't see the thousands of dollars we use to market and sell our homes. You don't see when clients, sometimes they lose their mind and you're not even the problem. It could be the buyer asked for an extension, their wife's pregnant, they want to get this house sold before the babies come, they're super stressed out, or they need the money because something's going on in their life, and that buyer asked for the extension. You're calling just to deliver the news that the buyer needs 3 days for whatever reason, and they lose their minds on you. But it's not you. You have to know that. They're not mad at you. They're mad at the situation. And you also have to be the deliverer of bad news in a lot of cases. I mean, I've had everything happen under the sun. I've had clients die during a transaction. I had to call a seller and say, sorry, the buyer died. And they're like, they're getting pissed that the wife can't just buy the house. I'm like, she just lost her husband of 30 years. She's not in any kind of mindset to buy the house. Don't worry, we will resell it, but I can't control if somebody died, right? So, and then there's crazy stories. So if I can also mention a really notable story. This is one that really kind of gave me a lot of notoriety when I was selling real estate. So I've been selling in every market, high markets, low markets, down markets, whatever. So I want to talk a little bit about the short sale and foreclosure market, because those are big buzzwords in the market right now. People are wondering, are we going to have another short sale wave? Are we going to have another foreclosure wave? I don't believe it'll be anything like the financial meltdown that we had from 2008 to 2012. I completely, yes, we've always had foreclosures, you guys, always, even in the best markets possible. It's just a really small number. Do I think we're going to have a massive wave across country? No, I absolutely don't think. But I'll tell you, something that gave me some type of real estate celebrity status was 2008. I stumbled into short sales. I had never even heard the word short sale, because remember, I only graduated high school in 2000, right? So never even heard the word short sale. The appraisal comes in low, and I have a client who loses $4,500 on a house. Now, most people would laugh, because $4,500 losing on a house is like nothing. It's like a penny, right? That was my first short sale ever. My largest short sale, the bank lost $4.5 million on one house. So from 2008 to 2012, I had to teach myself short sales when I never even had heard the word. And I became, in 2009, the second largest short sale agent in the city. And by the end of 2012, I was out of females, I had sold more short sales than any other agent in the city. And I was second to a large husband and wife team. So I learned short sales. I learned something I'd never known. So I want to tell people that, because there's a lot of scary change. There's always change in the market, you guys. Don't be scared if you don't know what it is. If you don't know what wholesaling is, if you don't know what deed in lieu is, if you don't know what a contract of sale is, just learn it. But I'll tell you my best short sale story. So this is 2008. I'm pregnant with my son. My son's born in August. This is July. I'm 8.5 months pregnant. It's 190 million degrees outside in Vegas. None of the houses have utilities, because people have moved out. You know, there's no utilities in the short sales or the foreclosures. And at the time, I was working with Angelo Mazzillo, who was the president of Countrywide Bank back in the day. Okay. If you guys remember Countrywide, they did a lot of subprime lending. They wouldn't work with my clients on the short sale. They were like, no, we're just going to foreclose. And these people had a verifiable hardship. They had, if I've ever seen one, they had an absolute reason why this house should have been short sold. Couldn't get a hold of anybody at Countrywide. They wouldn't, well, this is before I started working with Angelo. They wouldn't return our call. So what I decided to do is I went to my broker and I said, are you okay if I do some guerrilla marketing techniques? And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Jillian, but as long as you don't get me arrested or do anything illegal, we're good. So I said, okay. I took the ball and I ran with it. Now remember, 8 months pregnant, middle of the summer in Las Vegas. I handcuffed myself to the railing of the front balcony of this house. I contacted a news reporter in Las Vegas. They immediately were out, because who's not going to come out for an 8-month pregnant woman during the financial meltdown who's now handcuffed in 120-degree heat to the front of a house? They immediately put me on the news. It hits CNBC, ABC, CBS, Fox News. It hits all over the country. Las Vegas real estate agent, 8 months pregnant, this is the headline, risking her life and her baby's life to save a family from foreclosure. Within 2 minutes, my cell phone rings. It's Angelo Mazzillo, the president of Countrywide Bank. And he says, Jillian, you don't know me. I need you to unhandcuff yourself from this house right now. And I said, I can't do that, sir. I appreciate the phone call, but I had been contacting his bank for 8 months, since the beginning of my pregnancy. No one would talk to us. They would lose the file. They would transfer the file. We'd start all over again. We were on buyer number 3, and my seller had a security clearance. And he was like, if I short sell this house, if I foreclose on this house, I can lose my security clearance. His wife had already lost her job. She had been laid off. They had 3 kids. He was so afraid of the foreclosure. Now, he had the short sale approved through his sergeants, but he was like, if I lose my security clearance, my family's going to be on the street. We're going to be homeless. My wife's already lost her job. We're already losing our home. Our kids are already sad and crying that they're losing their home, but I'm going to lose everything if I foreclose on this house. We need your help. They had a verifiable hardship. One of the kids had a medical condition. The wife had a medical condition. Every reason this bank should have short sold the home, they wanted to foreclose. So I get Angelo on the phone. He's calling my personal cell phone, right? And at the time, Angelo was like a celebrity. I mean, a president of a big bank doesn't normally call your phone. And he says, get me the file on my desk. I go, sir, I'm chained to this house. You guys have the file. I've sent it 15 different ways from Sunday. You need to find the file. You need to look through it. Everything is appropriate. And remember, at this time, homes were going down every month. So if they foreclosed, they were going to get less money than they were going to get if they short sold. It made no financial sense even for the bank. So even if the bank doesn't have a heart, because I get it, it's a business, right? So he looks at the file. He calls me back about 20 minutes later. He says, short sales approved. We'll have an approval letter to you in your inbox with a deficiency waiver, which was important. And he goes, and on top of that, I will contact the seller's first sergeant and let them know to not lose his security clearance. So we have approved this. So I love telling that story because it did, yes, it made national news because of the craziness that I was doing. And I don't suggest anybody like handcuff their body to a house in the middle of summer, right? Especially if you're 8 months pregnant. But it was because I was willing to do whatever it took to get my clients what I believed was the right deal. I believed that they deserved this short sale. I believed that he didn't deserve to have a foreclosure because his wife lost her job, and then that in turn would lose their job. And then at that time, people weren't hiring. Where were these people going to work? Were they going to live on unemployment? I mean, it was a bad time. It was rough, right? So I was known as the realtor who was willing to do whatever it took. And since then, granted, that's 2008, I have still been that same realtor. If I believe in what I'm doing, and I believe in real estate. I believe that is your American rights. One of your rights is to own real estate. I believe it's much smarter than renting. I believe also I'm an investor at heart. I invest in all types of properties, commercial, land, residential, multifamily. I've done Airbnbs before Airbnb was even a thing. Before I was even an Airbnb website, I was doing Airbnbs in 2005, basically short-term rentals. I sold 300 short-term rentals to clients over my career. I've done everything. So I believe that is the fastest way to make you an American millionaire. And so when I believe in it, I believe that's your right to have it. And I will fight for my clients tooth and nail. I will be on the ground scrubbing that water stain off your floor. I will handcuff my body to a property if I need to. I have been on a ladder in 6-inch heels changing the light bulbs because the coach lights are needed. If not, they're going to find the homeowner from the HOA. So basically whatever it takes to get the deal done. And I believe that's the huge, the attribution to my success. Now I run a team. I have 26 people in total on my team between staff, agents. We're always hiring. We're always expanding. And that has become a great joy for my life, the team, because I've been able to see how we can affect other people's lives, not just our clients, which I love. I love the buyers. I love the sellers. But I've been able to see how I have people on my team that were cocktail waitresses, nothing wrong with that, but wanted more. We're single moms and now make great 6-figure incomes. I have a girl who was a school teacher and wanted out of that, and now she makes a great 6-figure income and has more time with her son. I have a guy who makes $500,000 a year and is at every one of his kids' hockey games. I have a guy who, was valet and was able to get out of that and makes $250,000 a year. And again, it's not all about money, but it's about a different quality of life. Now, I don't want to sugarcoat it. My agents, or at least when I train my agents or I mentor agents, I tell them the downside, if there was a downside to real estate, is you have to understand that when you're working with people for real estate, it is the biggest transaction in their life. So though for you, it might be one transaction, for them, it's everything. So when they're up at 11 o'clock at night and their mind is spinning, oh my gosh, when do I have to put the utilities on? And they're going to text you at 11 o'clock at night, when do I put the utilities on? Yeah, that might be a question that you can wait to answer till tomorrow. I don't. If I'm awake, I will respond to any question, no matter how big or how small, right when you send it to me. If I'm awake at 2 a.m. because I happen to be up binge watching Handmaid's Tale and you text me, I'm going to respond to you. Do you know why I do that though? It's because I know their head is spinning. I know in their world, this is the biggest thing that's happening to them. And if I make them wait until the morning to figure out, should they put on utilities, they're going to be stressed out. And I don't want stressed out clients. I want happy, healthy, productive clients. So I will try to be available around the clock. Now, that's not a life for everybody. I get that. I get some people are like, no, I want off time. In my world, there's no off time. I've chosen this life. I've chosen to be a realtor, a real estate investor, a real estate entrepreneur, and a real estate mentor. So even when my agents need me, if they need me at 11 o'clock at night, they know they can call me. Now, again, that's not the life for everybody, but I've chosen to make that type of commitment to my business. And because of that, I believe I'm successful.
What an amazing story.
Thank you.
The one that really hit me was you started with nothing except love. Mm-hmm. And you could tell your mom loved you. You could tell that she was going to do anything to make sure you guys were fine.
Yeah.
And I think what you did was you took that love and you started the work ethic based on the belief that she had your back. Mm-hmm. And I've read a lot of books on motivation on people that go into success. And one of the common denominators was vividly present while you were speaking, and that is you started in a place where most people would consider not so great, right? But because of the love that you had, it was great. And then as you were going forward in your life, you decided that you were going to make your mark. And that took a lot of sacrifice, from what I can see. And then what ends up happening is what people don't see. And they don't see you cleaning. Yeah. They don't see you frustrated in the back trying to figure out how to close this short sale that's going to ruin the life of a guy that does not deserve it. They don't see that. They just see, oh, look at her. Look at she's typing. This is just a marketing gimmick. Oh, she's just trying to get clients. Oh, no. You did what you thought was right. Mm-hmm. And that makes the difference for everyone that is out there trying to make it in this world, whatever their goal may be. If their goal is to make a couple $1 million, well, I think that's a little short-sighted. Yeah. I think what you've proven in this podcast so far is that it's about the people for you.
Oh, it is.
Right? So what I personally got out of it was, here's a person that will sacrifice what needs to be sacrificed to be able to help not just the consumer, but her team members. And a lot of the team members that, from what you said, that come on are looking for a life change, looking for a way that they can become a professional. And they look to you for that guidance. And I can totally see a professional in front of me. What you said on sitting on every short sale, volunteering for every deal, I've seen that personally many, many times with the people filled with the most gumption, the ones that really want to make the difference in the world, the ones that are going to raise their hand on the hard one, right? Yeah. And the one that stands out that you had mentioned was the guy for the $50,000. You know, people didn't want to mess with that. Mm-hmm. And because you did, you had a residual income client that would continually do business with you because deep down he knew that you were stepping up for him. And then when he saw you work, you didn't discriminate because you were doing a $50,000 deal. And it ended up being a guy that produced an incredible amount of income for you as a byproduct, because the truth is he made this money for himself. You were facilitator in the transaction, but as a facilitator, you also made your living, which is amazing. There's a guy that I very much respect. His name is John Joseph. And I'm sitting in my office one day. I'm frustrated. I have my feet up, and people that know me know I'm a prospecting agent. I just dialed till I almost pass out, right? Back in the day. Yeah. And so I'm sitting there with my feet up, and he comes in, he goes, "What's up?" I'm like, "Man, it's just today was rough. I a lot of bombs, a lot of FU bombs, a lot of this, a lot of that." He goes, "Yeah." He says, "Just don't turn anyone down because they may be in the hood, or they may be in this and that." And I go, "Yeah, well, I don't do that, but why are you saying that?" He says, "I want to tell you a story." And I said, "Really? Okay, well, sit down." So to give you a very, very abbreviated story, he says, I had a client where I sold him back in the day, a $20,000 condo in the hood, right? Mm-hmm. And no one wanted him. And he was past, and I finally just said, I'll do it, because I felt bad for the guy. So he goes out. Turns out his best friend was a B. Mm. Yeah. And his best friend ended up buying, I think it was like 3 full apartment complex in the millions. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. And I'm kind of butchering that story because it was a long time ago, but it reminded me of your story where you don't know who you're talking to. Yeah. They may not look like someone of wealth. And I've noticed, and from what I've done in my studies, do you know the people that wear the designer clothes with a big, Gucci and the wear the shirts that say Gucci all over it? Well, what happens is these designers have two separate lines. They have the one line, they have their name brand stamped all over it that is cheap, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least cheaper. And then they have the other one that does not show their name anywhere, mm-hmm. right? And the ones that know what fashion is about, they don't want these name brands everywhere. They just know, because other people that know the name brand see the dress that's mm-hmm. worth $6,000. They know there was a limited production, but they know the dress, right? Because they shop for the dress, mm-hmm. right? So there's two types of people you're going to be presented with, right, in that scenario. One that is the rancher that has a B behind his name, right? Mm-hmm. And that rancher isn't going to, he don't care what people think. He's got his hat and his boots, and he wants to buy something, he's going to turn around and buy it because he wants to. Where you got someone comes in with a big, the wardrobe, the flashy, and I immediately look at those people and I know what's going on, but I still tend to them and I do my best to help them. Mm-hmm. And so that was a wonderful point that you brought out too. Don't judge a book by its cover, and never do it. Put the people first, mm-hmm. and everything else will follow. If you're a humble agent, right, even if you're a $10 million a year agent, right, net to yourself, if you keep your humility, you will continually have raving fans that will continually call you and ask you to help them with a business transaction. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I agree 100%. I agree 100%, because one of the things, like, unless we're around other realtors who then, we talk about numbers and things like that. When we're talking to the public, we always say, how many homes have we sold, or how many families have we served, right? So we say that because when I say 4,000 homes sold, is generally 8,000 families or people served. And I'll tell you how, because you have a buyer and a seller on each side. So even though you might have serviced one side, you still helped 8,000 people accomplish whatever their dream was at that time, whatever their goal was at that time, versus us saying, we sold $1 billion in real estate. Because it's not about the money, it's about the people. Because the people are who are going to be your actual, like you said, your raving fans, the people that care about you. And it is about the story, it's about the connection. There has been times, I'll tell you, that I've sold homes to people that I've never met. They maybe never come to Vegas. Maybe we did the whole transaction online, or we did it over the phone or via DocuSign, whatever. But the best connection part is when I sell the homes to the people that I actually do get to meet. I meet their kids, I meet their story. I understand why are they buying or selling this home. And I still sell things, I'll tell you right now. Yes, I just closed a $24 million deal, and I have a deal in escrow right now. It's $400,000. I still sell everything. I don't turn anything away, me personally. Now I have a team, and my team will sell homes and all different prices as well, and we give buyers and sellers out on the team, and they do multi-million-dollar deals, and that's fine, because it's never about the actual dollar amount. And I'll tell you this is one thing that I teach new agents. I'll say, because a lot of them will think, these new agents come in and they're like, I just want to focus on luxury, but maybe they've never even bought a home or sold a home in their life. And I'm like, well, no one's going to give you a $10 million purchase if you're not experienced. No one's going to trust you with that amount, right? So, but I tell them this when they say, I want to focus on luxury. I say, so let me ask you this. Would you rather have one client that buys a $10 million property, or would you rather have 10 clients that buy $1 million property, or 100 clients that buy, let's say, a $100,000 property, whatever it is, right? If all things were equal, most of them will say, I'd rather just do one deal. It's going to be easier. I'm going to do one inspection, one appraisal, one this, one that, right? I said, but you know what also you have one of? Then you have one client to spread your name around. If you do a great job, you have one raving fan. I would rather work with 100 clients at a lower price point, because now either of these scenarios is going to provide you a good income, but one is going to help you build a sustainable business. Are you in it for a get quick rich scheme and you want to sell one home or 10 homes and you just want to make quick money? Then you do 1 or 2 or 5 homes. But if you want to build a sustainable business, you need a book of business. You need the raving fans. So I'd rather sell 100 homes, because now with my background of selling 4,000 homes, even if some of those people moved out of the country, some died, let's say some went to jail, whatever, some retired and they're never going to buy again, I still have probably 3,000 people who are going to rave about me all the time when they talk to their friends, their family members. Even if they move to Seattle and they're never coming back to Vegas, if they know somebody in Vegas, I now have a referral base. Now, if I had one client, that one client died or retired or went to jail, I have no one to refer me business to, and I have to start from ground level every single day. So you got to think more about this. Are you in it to make money and make it quick? Or are you in it to build a sustainable business? And I've done deals for free at times before because I'm in it to build a sustainable business. If something goes wrong or somebody doesn't have the equity or whatever the scenario is, I have done that because I want you to now be loyal to me. So everyone, because it's never just about you, it's also about everyone you know. And same thing if you do a bad job. Now, if you're late, if you're not professional, if you don't treat your client with respect, if you're not knowledgeable, if you haven't chosen to educate yourself, you're going to have 100 people that are pissed off too. Then you'll have 100 pissed off clients. So it's the same thing. You have to do everything you do. You have to do it fully. You have to be a professional and you have to really commit to it. It's like anything in life. If you're not committed to weight loss and you're eating a bunch of McDonald's, and I love McDonald's, you guys, but if you're not eating a bunch of McDonald's, but then you're like, oh man, I'm pissed off. Why don't I have a great body? Same thing with a realtor. If you're not committed, if you're not putting your all into your clients, if you're not servicing them, if you're not going above and beyond and educating yourself and making sure that you're staying out of liability and getting them what they want, you're not going to have happy clients. But it's all about building a sustainable business. And I've gone into other businesses. I've been very blessed in real estate because I've had a lot of experience, and I've always look for the opportunities when they come along. So that's the opportunity of selling commercial and getting with good business partners. I now own part of a construction company where we build properties from the ground up. We own lots out in Utah, right outside of, it's called Washington, Utah, which is right outside of St. George. So we're building these luxury homes from the ground up. They're going to be with RV garages between $1.5 and $3 million. We've done flips. I've done 300 flips in my career. We're always looking for new flips. We have ground up construction in Las Vegas where we buy land and we're building gorgeous, beautiful homes to put out and sell them for a couple $1 million. So I've looked at opportunity as it's come along. I now own part of a title company, part of a mortgage company, because that has come along as my success has increased. So I tell you, if you're an agent out there or if you're any kind of entrepreneur, be open to opportunity, be open to working hard, because I'll tell you, being an entrepreneur, you avoid working that 40-hour work week so you can work 80 hours a week for yourself. So there's no shortage of hard work. And you guys, there's no shortcut on the path to success. It's hard work. It's looking for the opportunities. It's taking the opportunities when they come. And there's risk involved with that. So you can't be risk adverse either. I've done real estate deals where I thought I was going to make a ton of money and I've made just a little bit. I have done real estate deals where unfortunately during the crash, I've lost money. I've done Bitcoin and I've lost money, and different cryptocurrencies and I've lost money. I know, you guys, shocker, I know. But it's okay because it's assessing the risk. You have to be smart with the risk, but you also can't be afraid to take risk. I've hired agents that I thought were going to be killers and they didn't have the work ethic. And I've hired agents where I thought they might do 1 or 2 deals and they came out of the gate and they were killers. So it's about taking the risk of when you need to. But as an agent, if I give you any advice, educate yourself, number 1. Number 2, find a way. Nobody told me what to do when I got into real estate. I went around, I mentored, I looked for mentor agents, I shadowed agents, I asked if I could use their listing for open houses, I door knocked, I sent out postcards. I just learned along the way. Nobody was like, hey, here's the playbook to be a successful realtor. And I'll tell you now where I'm at today, I would have never dreamed I could be where I'm at today. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, I would have just prayed and hoped for some of the success. And I hope 10 years from now, I can look back and say, wow, I can't believe where I'm at 10 years from now. But it's because I will make those conscious choices every single day, right? And I want my children to see back to kind of circling back to what I said in the beginning of this about a woman and breaking the glass, shattering the glass ceilings. I hope my daughters specifically will look at me and say, my mom did it, so I could do it. I hope my son will look at me and say, I want a wife that's like my mom, somebody who is self-reliant, somebody who's willing to bet on herself, somebody who's willing to say, if I want to make something happen in life, I will make it happen. And again, you guys, this isn't about money. This is about the freedom of living the life that you want to live. But money just is a pathway for that. It's a pathway to get you to where you need to be. And every time you step out of your door, you got to look at it like, I have the opportunity to go and meet new clients. I have the opportunity to work. Don't look at it like, oh God, I got to go show houses. Oh God, I got to go to my office. I hate going to my office. There's nothing to do. No, if you come with a sour attitude, you're going to get sour results. You got to come with it like, I have the opportunity to work. Do you know how many people would love to work right now? Do you know how many people that are sick and can't get out of bed and would love the opportunity to go to work? Do you know how many realtors who would love, if you have a client, even if it's the most difficult client in the world, who would die to have a client right now because they're not making any money? So look at it with the mindset of, I have the opportunity to serve my clients. I have the opportunity to go find homes for them. I have the opportunity to go show homes. Look, it's not the greatest when it's 120 degrees outside and these houses don't have air conditioning, but I have the opportunity to do that. And so if you look at it that way, your clients will see that you're there with a servant's heart, that you want to serve them. They'll see that you're happy. They'll know that you're knowledgeable because you educated yourself, which is what I started with. And then they'll want to work with you. People want to work with happy, positive people. If you're like, oh, the market sucks. Oh, real estate sucks. Oh, nobody's making any money. Nobody wants to work with that person. Nobody wants to trust that person. I was listening to a podcast this morning, right, about this mindset podcast, and it said, imagine if you were a sergeant and you were going to lead your troops into battle. And you were like, well, you guys, we're going to go into battle, but the odds are we're all going to get killed. We're going to get bombed. We're going to lose. This is going to suck. Would your troops follow you into battle? Or would you, if you were a sergeant or a lieutenant or wherever you need to be, I've never been in the military, guys, sorry, and you were leading your troops into battle and you were like, we're going to win, we're going to slaughter this, we're going to be victorious. That's when your troops want to follow you into battle. That's when they want to give their all. They want to be hyped up. And you got to be that hype man for your clients, for your kids, for your spouse, for your whatever it might be. And I don't even care. Let's say you're in the fitness industry. If every day you wake up and you're like, we're going to do this, we're going to kick ass, we're going to go in, we're going to slaughter our goals, then people will follow you. No one's going to follow the person who's like, yeah, I hate my freaking life. I hate my job. I hate my spouse. I hate my kids. I hate this. I hate that. Nobody wants to follow that person into battle.
You know, you made a great point. If you every day decide that you're going to follow your goals no matter what, and you're going to pay the price, and it could be, like you said, sitting in every open house you can, taking every lead and following every single lead as far as you can take that lead, or pounding that phone like I and some of my guys do. But every day looking, how are you going to make it happen for today? Because I believe tomorrow will take care of itself. Mm-hmm. If you do what you can in that day, then you will start seeing results. And I want to get back to something you said, okay? You were talking about all of these things you did when you first started your career, and then that gave you a base of clients where you were able to build your team. You were able to do what you did because of the base of clients that were referring you. Could you go back to that? I want to speak to the person that's listening to this podcast, and they're saying to themselves, hey, you know what? I need to make it happen. I need a roadmap, and I really think that she has something to say that I need to hear right now. Can we go back to that moment? And let me get you on screen 1 second. I'll edit that part out. But here we go.
Yeah, so getting back to that roadmap, and because a lot of people tell me, well, Jillian, I don't have hundreds or thousands of clients. I don't have hundreds or thousands of dollars. Like, what did you do? And so it doesn't matter. If I was a brand new agent, start with rentals. Start with people that everybody needs housing, right? I know it's not the glamorous, exciting $10 million home. Start with that because somebody in their family is buying or selling real estate, I promise you. Start serving those people that a lot of agents don't want to serve them well, and then ask them, do you have anybody that you know that wants to buy or sell real estate? And if they don't, or if they do, keep in touch with them. They will eventually become a buyer. If they got qualified to get into a rental, they're going to eventually become a buyer. Or a lot of my agents on my team will take renters and turn them into buyers. These people, they have great credit. They just don't know if they could buy. They don't know, they have some money down, but maybe they don't know the seller will pay their closing costs, or they don't know that there's a 1% down conventional program right now. So there are ways to turn those into buyers as well. But once you have let's say you have no clients, you've never sold a home. Do you know people? Do you know your kid's school teacher? Do you know the guy at the gym? Do you know your neighbor that is out walking his dog every day? Where do you go? Do you do jujitsu? Do you go to the same North Italia? You eat at the same place every day for lunch? Or you like to start talking to the servers, start talking to the staff, get to know people. You have people in your circle. It's all about loving on those people. People want to work with any business that you're in, the people they know, like, and trust. And if you start coming to them with things of value, Put them on your Facebook. Put them on your Instagram. Do a newsletter once a month. Tell them what's happening with interest rates. Tell them what's happening with inventory. If you know these people live in Summerlin, show them what's the most affordable home in Summerlin, the most expensive home in Summerlin. Like, so you find your database. You have to create it. Your database is gold. It's like gold mining. And then start communicating with these people. Give them something funny. Give them something of value. It's educate them, entertain them, right? So put them on your Facebook. Before I had a database, I used Facebook for everything. And I want you to see the funny pictures when I'm walking my dogs. I want you to see me as a mother, see me as a dog owner, see me as a community philanthropist. I want you to see the good that I do in the community. And then I went to the circles. My kids were in school, they all had teachers. My kids were in dance, they had dance teachers. There was parents at the dance school. I went there, I never miss an event. The kids' dance recitals, I was at. The kids' soccer games, there was parents there at the soccer games, and I would just go up and talk to everybody. You have to be a social butterfly to be in any kind of sales business, not just real estate, because it's all about the more people you know. You don't have to be the best, the most highly educated, though I think you should be, but you don't have to. You don't have to be the best looking, but you need to be social. You can't have fear of going up and talk to people. Every time you're at a restaurant, every time you're in, how many times I've given my card out to the valet person and they've been a realtor, but that's okay. I'm going to keep trying because somebody's going to buy or sell a home with me. Somebody's going to have a cousin, a brother, an aunt, and uncle that need to buy or sell a home. So the roadmap to success is don't be afraid to go out there and open your mouth and talk to people. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. My kids know this. They've seen me do it. All of my kids are social butterflies. They talk to their friends. All their friends' parents know that I'm a realtor. I've gotten a lot of business that way too. And you know what? The other thing is I'm about to drop a bomb right now that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, whatever. I have made millions, and I mean actually brought home millions of dollars off of other realtors, even local realtors. People will say, well, how? Because a lot of my agents will be like, I don't want to go to real estate events. There's only going to be realtors there. Do you know how many realtors have come to me and said, hey, Jillian, I'm about to give birth to my baby. I'm going to take 3 months maternity leave. Will you cover my business for 3 months and pay me a referral fee? Absolutely, I will. Hey, Jillian, I don't know how to do high rises. They intimidate me. Can you help me if I give you my high rise clients? Absolutely, and I'll pay you a commission. Hey, Jillian, I don't know how to do multifamily. Hey, Jillian, I want to do commercial. I just told you I have business partners out of this office that do commercial with me. Had I not have known them, I might not have gotten that huge check, right? So many realtors, hey, Jillian, I'm going to go 3 months sabbatical. I had a realtor who a big, huge realtor in town, 20 plus years, went on a 3-month sabbatical with his son to Florida. Hey, Jillian, will you cover my business? There is so much money you can make from other realtors, or they don't know how to wholesale, or they don't know how to deal with an investor, or they get frustrated. Their client wants a woman, or they want a man. Just because you don't have a team, go and expand your social circle with realtors. I have made millions of dollars off of realtors. And then if you know realtors out of state, or if you can travel to conventions, that's a gold mine. But let's say you can't travel. Go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, start communicating with other realtors in different Facebook pages, make connections. They will refer you people as well. So that's the most obvious one. And when I tell people that, they're like, wait, what? Realtors aren't going to give me their business. I've made millions, you guys, off of local realtors in my city. I've gotten involved in committees. I've gotten involved on the boards. I sat on the board for 7 years. As a local association of realtors, I sat on the state board. I sat on the national board. I was a Women's Council of Realtors president in 2015. I was the state governor in 2018. I've sat on ARIA, NAREP, NAREP, VA rep, GLVR, LVAR, NVR, NVAR, WCR, all of them, all the R's. I sat on every board throughout my career because I have made money that way. So that's another road path, is get involved. Sitting at home in your pajamas or just going to lunch with your same group of girlfriends or guy friends going golfing isn't enough. You need to expand your social circles.
That was definitely a bomb. And I can tell you guys, I've been doing this for 30 years, just about. And I can tell you, I'd never thought of that. That's a bomb. Yep. The point is, I think she's trying to make, guys, is simple, is that any action that you take is going to be met with some kind of reciprocity. So you will be compensated in one way or another, whether you're serving on a board, right, to try to help your fellow agents, right, making sure that we're getting a fair deal, could also end up being a profitable venture, if you would, with the relationships you made.
Absolutely,
right?
It will be.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about anything done at the board or state level. I'm talking about the relationships that you make sitting on. I personally sit on the crypto board, and I have made some really good friends and done a bunch of amazing things with them. So I kind of feel you. One thing I will add to all that is, and I've seen so many people just decide, and you could see the eye of the tiger. You could see it in their eyes. And there comes a moment where you just get up, you sit at your desk or your cubicle or at the bullpen, and you just decide, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And what I tell the people that I coach, I say, look, you're going to be alive during this time anyway, right? Yeah. Well, then why not give it all for the goals that you're writing yourself? If you're going to write these goals, why not try as hard as you can? Well, what do I do, Pedro? Well, do what you want. There's this guy that's within our organization. He didn't want to call. He refused. So what he did was he went to his manager and he said, you know what? I'm going to do open houses, but I'm only going to do them for the very, let's say, well-to-do neighborhoods, not to use anything else. So he went to all the agents in the organization and he said, hey, can I sit at your open houses? Well, he was surprised because none of those people were doing really open houses. They had to get permission from the client. The clients would have to leave, and it was just a lot of work, and it was a hot market, so they didn't want to mess with it. But he was insistent, and he started doing the open houses. Well, a year and a half later, he was calling the show. He was the top agent on all these neighborhoods where he sat on all these open houses. So, I mean, you got to think maybe those agents that gave him the opportunity are kind of not happy, but he sold a lot of those property. And so now he's rocking the house as one of the top luxury agents, not just in Arizona, but in the nation. He's amazing. I'm not going to plug him, but he's amazing. So the point isn't call expireds, call for sales by owners, right? No. The point is what I think where you're going is action. And you know what? I see you posting all the time, right? I've heard your name a lot. So I think you coming on and being candid and honest and letting these people know how you did it and where you came from is, I think it speaks so highly of you as a person.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of people, once they become successful, want to hide their past. And you know what? You shouldn't.
Yeah.
You should embrace it and use it, because in my belief, and I've just said this, but I'll say it again, it's worth repeating. Most of the people that you'll find that are millionaires, billionaires, yeah, most of those people didn't start that way.
No.
They weren't inherited that wealth. Some were. Yeah. But the bulk, 75 plus, and I'm just making up that number, I'm guessing, right? Yeah. Were all who made it by wrapping up their bootstraps and rolling and making it happen. So watching your progression over these 20 years, not personally, but hearing about what you just said and hearing your name over the last 20 years, right, is impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. And why don't we wrap up the show with giving you the last word and telling us something that's on your heart you want to tell the people.
There's two things I think I'd like to wrap up with this on is, and I'm glad you mentioned that, never forget where you came from. And I'll tell you this, for me, money is a tool, right? It is not the end all be all, but it is a tool. And I'll tell you the one thing that has always stuck with me, and I have a sister who is very ultra successful as well. One thing that's always stuck with me is the value of money. Now, everybody values money differently, and I hope I'm not going to offend anybody with this statement, okay? But for somebody like myself who makes 7 figures a year, every single year, right, and does very well for herself, I still buy most of my clothes, don't laugh, off Amazon. I'll wear, this is probably a $35 dress, but I look amazing, right? I don't wear a lot of name brand things. I didn't buy my first Louis Vuitton bag until I had $2 million liquid in the bank. And I'll tell you, and I bought the least expensive bag in the store. I bought a $1,200 bag. I don't even know if you can even buy a $1,200 bag today. But Louis Vuitton, for those of you who don't know, there's bags that are $50,000, $100,000 and more. The average bag in there is probably $5,000 or $10,000. And I was like, there's no way that I would spend $10,000 on a bag. Now, this is somebody who had a bunch of assets and had $2 million liquid in the bank. So the dollar value of money, the $10,000 wouldn't have been a big deal. But I couldn't get myself to buy a bag for myself. Still to this day, $10,000, that seems crazy to me, right? Because I thought to myself, I want my kids inheriting assets and real estate, not bags and shoes. So again, I hope I don't offend anybody. You can spend your money however you like, right? But I am still a multimillionaire that will walk into a Ross or walk into a TJ Maxx and buy something there versus I think I've been in a Nordstrom 2 times my entire life. And nothing against Nordstrom, I love it, right? But I just value money differently, right? So I couldn't buy a $600 dress. I just feel like I can feel good about it. Like I value money differently. I wear $40, $50 shoes, right? Like I have a couple of pairs of nice shoes, but not very many. And because I value money. So I know that if I'm out there combing for investments and I'm walking through the rocks looking for a lockbox because I still show houses, or I'm walking through the dirt looking at showing people a land deal, I don't want to ruin $3,000 pair of shoes. I don't care if it's my $40 heels, right? I let them get scratched up in the rocks all day. I just value money differently. So I'm going to give you a perfect example. I just bought myself a new car. I bought a Tesla. I bought the Model S Plaid, fastest car in the market. And I went and ordered the Tesla from Tesla. And putting in all the bells and whistles and adding the full self-driving and everything, it's about $130,000 for a brand new one. I ordered it, put up my $250, and then I did what Jillian always does. I then spent the next few days researching online to see if I can get anywhere cheaper. And I found a 1-year used Tesla Model S Plaid with 9,000 miles on it. Now, if you know me, 9,000 miles is like 3 months of driving. That's like brand new because I drive like I can put 40,000 miles in 2 years on my car, easy. So, and this car was advertised for like 99,000. I call the dealer, I get him down to 92. 9,000 miles on it. And I'm thinking to myself, so it's Model S Plaid, but it's 1 year old. It's not a 2023, which is what I ordered. It's 2022. But I can get the 2023 for 130. All the bells and whistles, full self-driving. I can get this one for 92. And I can just pay the $200 a month for self-driving, the full self-driving. But it's the Plaid. And I canceled the order from Tesla. Now, keep in mind, I'm somebody who could pay cash for this car. But I won't do it. I won't spend the $130,000 when I can spend the 92 because I just saved $38,000 that I know I could put into a real estate deal. And I can make that $38,000 turn into $150,000 in a real estate deal on equity. If I just put that $38,000 into a larger down payment, obviously it's not enough, but towards a down payment on something, I can 10x that money. I'll start with double Xing it and then 4Xing it, and then I can 10X it. So it's about retraining your brain. I just want people to know that because a lot of times when people come from nothing and they make a bunch of money or they earn a bunch of money, they start spending it like crazy. And it's not that I don't spend money, but I buy assets. I buy a lot of houses because I want return on my investment. So it's about training your brain. I don't own Fendi anything, Gucci anything, Prada anything. I don't. I do have a few Louis Vuitton bags, but they're all the least expensive ones. Not one costs more than $1,500, right? So I probably have 10, maybe. But then I pass those down to other people. I'll pass them to other realtors in my office. I pass them to my daughters, different things like that. But I value money differently than I think a lot of people. And I've learned that because there's no backup plan for me. I'm not going to inherit money when my parents die. I don't have a rich husband. There's nobody else that's going to pay my bills. In fact, I pay for a lot of my family's bills. I have a lot of people that rely on me to help them live. So there's no backup plan. So I have to value money what it is. So when people, and I've had people shame me for this, Pedro. I had somebody shame me. I was at an event, and this is maybe 5 years ago before I ever even owned my Louis Vuitton bag. And I had a Victoria's Secret little satchel as my purse. Now, my daughters had just given it to me for Christmas. It was probably one of those free with purchase, okay? But it was sparkly, and I wore it to an event. I wore it to a beautiful event. And I was in a ball gown, and a lady at the elevator in front of my whole team shamed me. She goes, "Oh my God, for the amount of money you make, you shouldn't have a free with purchase purse." And I felt about this small. She went on and on and on. I won't get into the whole thing, but I felt about this small. And I thought to myself, but I have $2 million liquid in the bank, and I own 10 houses. Most are paid off. I don't have to worry about money. If I don't make a check tomorrow, I'm okay. If I don't make a check for the next 2 years, I'm okay. And I can still live the way I live. And I do have a free with purchase bag. That is what I'm wearing to this beautiful black tie event. But it's because that didn't matter to me, right? It didn't matter to me. Now, did I feel small because the way that she was talking to me in front of a lot of people, it felt uncomfortable, but it was what valued to me. And then I realized this person who did this to me didn't own a house, didn't have any assets, but she had luxury bags. So now, again, this is not to offend anybody, and I hope I'm not being offensive, right? But it's just I value money differently because I don't have a backup plan. I don't have anyone who's going to bail me out if things get rough. I have to only rely on myself. So I say that to people because I'm hoping that I will just encourage somebody to think twice. Maybe if you don't have the money to buy that $9 cup of coffee at Starbucks, you can get a cup of coffee at McDonald's for $1. Like, just think about money differently. Because when clients come to me and they say, I don't have money for a down payment, and there's been clients I have financially coached, and I've gone through their bank statements, and it's like, well, you're at Starbucks 15 times a month. That would save you $300 if you just stop going there. Okay, well, you eat out 10 times a month, and some of these dinners are $400. Okay, well, there's your down payment right there for your house. So just think about valuing money differently, because it's all about relationships. And I've said this before, and this is something I'm kind of known for. I always say to people, how is your relationship with money? Do you abuse it, or do you let it work for you? Do you have a love relationship with money, or do you have a love-hate relationship with money? A lot of people I know make a ton of money, and they spend every dollar they make. That's a love-hate relationship. Then I know a lot of people who make a ton of money, and they spend just a little tiny bit. And it doesn't look like they have money, but they have security, right? Money's about security. And so what is your relationship with money? Do you abuse it? Because I bet you if you actually looked in a mirror, a lot of us would say we abuse money. We abuse it. We don't treat it right. And if you don't treat money right, it's not going to treat you right. So when and I'll tell you a quick story about that. When my dad was passing away, my dad passed away very young. He had a heart attack, and he didn't have health insurance. And he had a ton of money, but didn't have health insurance. And surprisingly, some of the doctors he needed to go didn't want to take cash patients for whatever reason. And I realized his security plan was having the cash, which did help, because if he didn't have cash, he wouldn't have had any medical care. But he made choices by not having health insurance that actually probably stifled what he could have done, or where he could have been, or getting into doctors quicker, things like that. So money can really become very important in those scenarios. When it comes to medical treatment, it can become very important. When it becomes to finding the right doctor, it can become very important. So just think about money differently. Look at your relationship with money. Don't abuse it. And the last thing I'll leave people with is this. I've always thought this way. If I had the money and somebody came to me and needed it, I've always given it freely. Because to me, money is just a tool. It's a tool the way I live. And I'm a religious woman, so not to go crazy on religion here, but I believe if God has given me the gift and someone else needs help, he's given it to me to help that person. And if I don't help them, he may not continue to reward me with the gift that he has given me, because it's all God's grace.
And I agree with that. And on that note, thank you for coming to Master Agent Mindset, and have a great one.
Oh, that was fun. Loved it.